By making statements like this, you won't let me.
We are not here to debate who was right or wrong, but Amber Heard's lies need a case study. These are 10 shocking, manipulative moments where Amber Heard nearly convinced everyone of her lies. Subscribe now and wait till the end because the list of her lies gets crazier. Lies about charity.
Donating half of the $7 million to the ACLU.
That's correct.
Do you remember the whole trial of Depp v. Amber Heard? Perhaps the biggest moment of the entire trial came when Amber was confronted about her often repeated claims that she donated her entire $7 million divorce settlement to a charity. She publicly stated multiple times that she had nothing to do with the money and wanted nothing from Depp, and even had split the money between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. But once the cross-examination was done, the truth came out, and the truth was that she never donated the money at all.
What my statement was. I don't disagree with anything in the statement, but I just simply don't recall what the statement was we released.
Is there anything inaccurate in that statement, Ms. Heard?
No.
Okay. I'm going to move to admit.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
When she was forced to say the truth, Amber made one of the most bizarre arguments ever heard in the courtroom. She said that she used the pledge and donated synonymously. So, when lawyers clarified that these words have completely different meanings, Heard doubled down in panic, insisting that's how donations work. The courtroom was stunned in silence as she tried to argue that promising to give money was the same as giving it. This woman was so delusional that it wasn't even a slip of the tongue or a minor moment of messing up. It was a fundamental lie that she had been using to paint herself as selfish, and this majestic celebrity that doesn't value money as much as she values other people's health and lives. In a world where people make videos even when they give $5 to someone, do you think she would have stayed silent if she actually gave $7 billion to charity? We don't think so. TMZ leak.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
One of the biggest claims that happened throughout the proceedings was that Amber Heard never wanted any publicity for her abuse allegations and never even disclosed any information to the media. But that carefully crafted story fell apart spectacularly once the examination was done. Camille Vasquez was exposed and been heard more times than we can count on fingers. And when she was questioned about the TMZ receiving edited video footage and being tipped off about her courthouse appearances, Herb made a huge error in defending herself. She accidentally said, "If I wanted to leak information, I could have done it in a more effective way a lot sooner and a lot more." That's when the courtroom erupted. Her own lawyer visibly felt disturbed because Amber just admitted that under oath, she knew how to leak information to the press, directly contradicting her earlier testimony that she had no idea how those things even worked. It was a moment of self-destruction that no amount of backtracking or further clarifications could undo. The look on her face as soon as she realized was priceless. She got an intern with panic before she even continued talking, desperately trying to explain away words that couldn't even be explained because she had just exposed herself. Donated versus pledge. Let's take a step back and return to the charity donation issue because it perfectly exposes Amber Heard's core. Her insistence on the fact that pledge and donate are synonymous became the most defining moment. When the lawyer asked directly whether she had donated, not pledged, but actually donated the $7 billion, Heard tried every verbal trick in the book to say no. She claimed that she wanted to fulfill the obligations and that she argued about how donations are structured. She tried to redirect to join it up, allegedly trying to sue her. But when the truth was finally paid down, she had to admit no, she did not donate any money, but made this particular damage that she had used the donation for years as proof of her pure motives. She even told the court, the media, and the fans that she wanted to do nothing from debt and that all of her money was going to charity. Learning this was a completely new thing for the world, and even though we think it's not a big deal, it just goes to show how manipulative she is. Wine spill photo. Next comes another movement where Heard presented photos of what she claimed was the perfect example of how Johnny Depp was a violent monster as he spilled wine on the floor of the penthouse. However, when she was questioned about the metadata and the suspicious cropping of the image, she became quite defensive and started evading the whole conversation. The lawyer pointed out that the metadata about the photo was covered up in the version that was presented to the courtroom. If you don't know what metadata is, it shows all the information, like where the photo was taken, the time, date, and everything. This moment became huge because it shows a pattern that when she is caught in inconsistencies, Heard would deflect, argue, and even try to control the narrative. Was Johnny Depp? Present day, when the photo was taken? Who took the photo? We don't really know, but all we know is that Amber Heard loved to lie. Melissa Signs. After that came a very weird occurrence. This was when Officer Melissa Signs testified that she saw no injuries on Amber Heard's face on May 21, 2016, when she claimed that she was beaten up by Johnny Depp. Amber Heard here tried a clever linguist. She said that she repeatedly claimed that the officer did not consider her injured, rather than admitting that the officer saw no injuries at all. The lawyer had to clarify multiple times that Officer Melissa had confirmed multiple times. Officer Heard said that she saw no injuries on her face. She kept trying to reframe it as a matter of the officer's opinions about whether the marks were visible or they were deeper, making it look like the officer was at fault for not acknowledging her marks. This semantic gameplaying revealed that someone was trying to make it an additive that the evidence did not even support. I don't know why, but Amber Heard sort of felt like she was above the law at that point. When you have to argue about what "saw no injuries" means, you have already lost the argument. You thought we were over? We're actually just beginning. Subscribe now because we're about to expose Amber Heard harder. The Monster Depp. During the whole trial, Amber Heard frequently referred to Johnny Depp as the monster during the relationship, and even throughout the whole battle. When she was questioned about this, she tried to explain that the monster wasn't Johnny Depp himself, but it was what he became when he was using drugs and alcohol. This is the biggest manipulation of them all, because now she's trying to make even Johnny Depp rethink what he truly was. But here, the lawyer once again brilliantly dismantled the excuse by pointing out that Heard called him the monster simply for needing space from her for her incessant texts and calls, and for trying to de-escalate arguments by leaving. None of these things involved drugs or violence. It was just a man who was trying to get away from the toxic situation. Hearing this, Amber Heard had a huge internal panic attack, and her inability to accept this characterization shows a lack of empathy, self-awareness, and genuine concern in her mind. Johnny needed space from her, which was equal to him being a monster. This is a controlling and obsessive behavior that we saw throughout the audio recordings, as they were already revealed at this time. But hearing her defend just makes it more chilling, disturbing, and funny at the same time. James Franco. Now let's get a little bit of spice here. When Amber Heard was questioned about having James Franco over at the penthouse on May 21, 2016, which was a night after she claimed Johnny Depp violently assaulted her, Heard initially tried to claim that she didn't even remember that Franco visited. The lawyer then pulled up the security footage showing Franco arriving at the facility in the evening. But this was something chilling after the footage was revealed. If Amber Heard had been genuinely terrified and traumatized from a violent attack the previous night, why was she comfortable about having a male visitor over? The timeline didn't match the behavior, and even in the footage, it didn't really look like she was traumatized at all. Heard attempted to downplay the whole situation and explained that she didn't remember that Franco visited. And this was shocking because the security footage never lies, and it painted a picture of someone who wasn't behaving like a domestic violence victim in crisis. Even if she had something like that, why did she never talk to Franco about it? Loud admission. This one is a real banger for everyone who loves drama, even though it's quite tragic. When confronted with the evidence that she would text and call Depp constantly like a madwoman when he would try to get away from the toxic situation, her response was priceless. Heard was directly asked this one statement that shook her to the core. The court said, "You would harangue him, wouldn't you?" Her answer was quite revealing. She said she told everyone that she would try everything to get a hold of him and stop the cycle, and that she couldn't simply bring herself to say yes or no. In other words, she couldn't bring herself to say yes or no. She just had to justify explaining her behavior as necessary, heroic, rather than admitting that she was the one at fault, and that it's fine if someone goes away from a toxic situation. at least temporarily when you just made them lose their mind. The lawyer pressed her situation about the whole thing as a yes. She didn't continue to deflect it, saying that she would try everything to stop the cycle. It was important to me that this exchange perfectly captured her inability to take responsibility for her own toxic behavior and just give her own man some space when he needed it the most. Cocaine photo disaster. And if that manipulation wasn't enough, in an attempt to prove Johnny Depp's drug use, Heard presented a lot of photos. However, when these photos were cross-examined, there was a huge flaw that emerged. She had no photos of Depp actually using the cocaine. When asked if she had pictures of him using them, she admitted that she didn't. The lawyer then went through other possibilities that he could be holding the cocaine, standing next to the cocaine, or even sitting near the cocaine, to which Heard had to answer, no. She also admitted that she never caught him using the drug on video. What she did have were the photos of him sleeping or passed out. These are images he had taken secretly to document his alleged substance use. The lawyer's devastating question still hung in the air. What sort of person takes photos of their husband or boyfriend struggling with drug use? Smirking video. Now to the last manipulative lie on the list. The testimony revealed that TMZ received an edited video of Amber Heard secretly recording Johnny Depp. In this version, the beginning and the end were cut out. A TMZ employee testified that the beginning, where Amber Heard could be seen setting up the camera, was missing, as was the ending where she could be seen smirking after Johnny Depp left. When confronted, Heard denied editing the photo before sending it to TMZ. She even claimed that she didn't leak it at all despite all the evidence pointing to her source. Here, she tried manipulating the world, but every single time her lies were caught. Do you think Amber Heard was largely in the wrong this whole time? Or was Johnny just smart enough not to get caught? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe today to stay up to date with the darkest side of Hollywood.